Hi, I'm Tracy, and this is my video testimonial of learning. I am an ESL instructor. I've been teaching English as a second or additional language for decades now. And this is my first foray, though, into online teaching and designing online learning. And so the course that I would like to walk you through today is called IELTS Upper Intermediate Speaking and Vocabulary. It's a course aimed at adults, and it's offered through a community center, so it would be people local to the Lower Mainland. And it's to help prepare people for the IELTS test, which is an international standardized test of English. And people use this for for immigration purposes, or to help gain admission into higher education, and for a few other things as well. So the students will be at an upper intermediate level of English on an IELTS, in IELTS terms, probably about band 6. And probably they will be working or studying at another institution at the same time. So there will be 2 synchronous sessions per week, and they'll be in the evenings. And since these are people that are not operating in their first language, I'm expecting that they'll need a fair amount of support. So to start with, we have an introductory video that walks them through the course on the Moodle site and shows them how it's structured and how to navigate through it. We have important course information, including how to contact me and information about office hours. So that's another form of support I'll be offering, is an hour and a half of office hours per week, where students can come for extra help or problems or questions. And also for people who are interacting in a language not their first, an important issue is how to interact with each other. So I think for everybody, it's good to know guidelines of how to act in, for example, in Zoom classes. But I've also got some language here that can help them to phrase things in a polite way. So if they're asking questions or offering opinions, it comes across in the right way. So walking through a unit, the week 2 unit is called Homes and Architecture. Each unit is going to start with a short video. And they're generally about 2 minutes long, so not too overwhelming for the students. And so this is just a little introduction to the topic. And I also have some key points written down for them. So if they miss some of the information in the video, they can also look at the key points at the bottom of the page. And then I've tried to organize information so that everything they need for one step is together. Yeah, so for example, for preparing for Tuesday's Zoom class, if they click on here, everything that they need to do for that preparation is there. And then for the Zoom class, they've got the link to the meeting as well as resources that they need for that class. So another form of support I have in week 2, unit 2, is choice. So this is a little survey just for me to take the pulse of the class and see how they're doing. So they can tell me if they're feeling comfortable, or it's too easy, or they need help. Every unit also has a link to a Quizlet set. So it's a set of flashcards. It's on an app called Quizlet. And so they can use the flashcards for reviewing vocabulary from the unit. And they can also use the flashcards in games and test themselves on the same app. Some units also have discussion forums so that they can continue discussing or interacting with each other outside of their synchronous classes. And every unit for one form of assessment will be a vocabulary quiz on the week's vocabulary. And yeah, so that'll directly test their vocabulary knowledge. And then in Unit 5, there'll also be a bigger task that gets assessed. So one part of the test that students find challenging is a long turn where they have to talk about a topic for 2 minutes by themselves. And they'll be preparing for that on Thursday with a classmate. And then after the class, they need to go to a Flipgrid page, and they are going to see the task there that they have to answer. They're going to record a 2-minute turn, and then I will give them video feedback. And the feedback is formative, but it will be in relation to the assessment criteria that's published by the IELTS organization, so they can get an idea of how they're doing relative to the actual test criteria. So that's it for the walkthrough of the units. For the guiding questions, so for what component was the most difficult to build, I'm not sure if there's one particular component. I think just everything in general was challenging in the beginning, and it seemed maybe insurmountable in the beginning, but thanks to YouTube and a little playing around, it was actually easier to figure out than I initially expected. What surprised me the most was probably that I really enjoyed tinkering with Moodle and with other tech. So it was very absorbing for me, and I really enjoyed learning about it and figuring things out, playing around with it, and just figuring out what Moodle resources and activities I could use to help me realize what I wanted the students to accomplish to reach their language objectives. When I think back to Education 4150 and think about the hurdles I've had to overcome, probably the biggest one I would say is that I had to change my way of thinking about teaching. I'm a teacher who likes to walk into class with a folder with extra materials so that if the mood is different than I expected, or the students are more challenged or less challenged than I expected, I can change course easily. And that's not something that I can do with the online course. It has to really be figured out, and the amount of work that students should be expected to do, it also has to be figured out. So that's something a little bit new for me. And the final question, how has my thinking changed about being an e-learning designer? I would say it hasn't really changed because I wasn't sure what to expect. So it's more ideas have coalesced, and I have a better view now of or a better understanding of how an LMS works. I actually always wanted to have an LMS, even when I was teaching face-to-face, to have things have a place to structure everything on. So it's been a great experience figuring out how it works and how it can add functionality to the course. And yeah, I really feel like I've learned a lot. Um, Thank you for your support, Joanne, and it's been a great experience.